into it. You've talked about your upbringing a lot in the past. What role did music play growing up, especially in that environment?
Yeah. Well, one, it was just fun. You know, I've always loved music. I've always loved singing along to like Michael Jackson, and I don't know. It's just always been there. It's always been a part of my life, you know. And then when obviously I started singing, I found that it just helped me. I was a release for one, a big, you know, release of pent up frustration. You know, my anger towards the situation. You know, being poor and all that, and having parents that were, you know, difficult to grow up with. But yeah, it just gave me something to be you know, to be good at. I wanted to be good at something, and before music, I had drawing. You know, and drawing it was fun, but it's very sort of insular. And as soon as I found music, it allowed me to have an outlet. You know, like an emotional outlet. It's like therapy, really. You know, it's healing. When I sit and play my guitar, I just feel like I can. It's like meditation. You know, I switch off, my thinking brain switches off, and the way I feel is more relevant. You know, I notice it more. You know, yeah.
And you mentioned something interesting that art in kind of drawing and painting that's more insular. So did it help you branch out as well and kind of find like-minded people?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying earlier, I really like musicians and I really like creative people. I think I've got a lot of respect for anybody who puts emotion and soul into something creative. It doesn't matter what it is, you know, whether it's drawing, music, you know, comedy, anything like that. Really, I just think, you know, most musicians are kind of weird. They're kind of socially inept. You know, they've gone, you know, they've either had a really weird childhood or perfectly fine, but they're still just a bit weird. And I think, you know, expression of the heart and expression of your soul is always a good thing, whether it's in music or art. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I like it. I'm a supporter of other musicians. You know, I never want to be one of these guys that's like, oh, I don't like them, I don't like them. You know, I appreciate. You know, it's like we're a team. We're all in the same boat. You know, we're all trying to create stuff that we're proud of, that other people can feed off and enjoy.
And that last bit, the idea that somebody can connect to somebody else's creativity.
Yeah.
When did you discover that? Was it early on that you know that you can affect people by singing to them or writing?
I mean, the first time I ever experienced it, I was 9, and I just sang a Bryan Adams song.
Which song?
You know it's true, everything I do. That one is cheese, but I used to love it when I was a kid. And I sang it in a bar, and I remember that all the people. It was in Italy, and all the people in the bar just stopped talking because it was loud, you know. And I was only a kid; I was 9, so I didn't think anyone was going to listen. I just thought they'd be like, "Who's this kid singing?" or whatever. And when I sang it, they just went mental, and they all stood up and were like, "Yeah, man, yeah!" And I was 9. I remember thinking, "This is cool." Yeah, and then I remember afterwards. It was next to a beach, and there was this wall, and it overlooked the beach. And I remember looking out onto the beach, and it was the first time I thought, I'd like to be a singer. I think I'd like to be a singer. Yeah, and that was just like when I was 9. And then I didn't really think about it in terms of doing it as a profession. I knew I liked it, and I knew that I wanted to get better, and I wanted to learn an instrument, and yeah, if I could get to the point where I could play gigs for a living, that was my goal really at the start.
When did it for you become a reality in a sense? When did you realize, well, I can actually make a living off of this?
I was 16 and I was in a little band from school, and we were playing 5 gigs a night, a week. Yeah, in the summer, like as school kids, we were earning I was earning probably close to 400 quid a week doing gigs.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it was all right. Like not every week, but most weeks. And we were doing quite a lot of gigs for a little school band. You know, we used to just play covers. So that was the first time. when I seen the pub packed and everyone was like, yeah, and they're all singing along, I was thinking, this is well good. I was like, I'm going to do this for a living, definitely. And that's when I decided I'm not going to go to university. I'm not going to try and get some job I hate. I'm going to concentrate on music. And that was when I decided, yeah, I'm going to be a singer.
So this was around 16, and then I believe you signed. I'm not exactly sure, but around 21 when you signed.
Yeah. I'd signed my deal when I was 20.
20.
And I put my album out when I was 21, yeah.
So within 5 years, you kind of went from playing in those bars to kind of the highest, I suppose
I was
you could.
like catapulted. Like, yeah, it was fun. I couldn't believe how it happened really quickly, but it took me a long time to get used to it and to enjoy it. I always enjoyed playing music, but when it stepped up a gear and I was signed, the pressure of being a signed artist, it beat me a lot actually. My own insecurities have been my worst enemy from the start, and it's took me a long time to get to the point where I'm not conscious of it and I just enjoy playing live. I still have days where I'm better than others. It depends, on how I'm feeling. But yeah, that's something that I'm really trying to work on. I want to get to the point where I can just enjoy it and not feel the fear of rejection.
Well, that's quite interesting that you said it, because it is along the lines of what we talked about before, and obviously over the years you've had a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
But if you think back of who you were back then, what kind of person were you back then? What do you see? Do you see just that insecurity?
There's definitely a thread that connects to who I am now to who I was when I was a kid, 100%. But when I was younger, I was just really shy and just really insecure. In my head, when I even just meeting someone, I'd get anxiety. And if someone asked me a question or just tried to talk to me, I'd get anxiety about talking. And so when I started singing, it was like a way of letting that out. I wasn't so scared of singing as I was talking to people and having to have a personality in a way. I found it hard to put myself out there as a person. I was constantly just in and quiet, So when it kicked off, it was a big shock for me to be someone who everyone's talking to and quick fire questions, and I was just like, Whereas now, I suppose I was trying to represent myself as this person that was strong and confident, and what I felt about myself didn't match up to that. So I just constantly felt like I was, having to prove myself to myself. Whereas now I've got a little bit older, I've accepted myself as with the flaws, and it's made it more enjoyable. Having kids has sort of allowed me to have a bit of space between just thinking about who I am, and I sort of accepted myself through having kids. My kids love me, and I love them to bits. They're the most important thing to me in my whole life. So if they love me, then it in turn allowed me to like myself a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm not a parent, so I can say, but from what I hear, it puts things a little bit into perspective. You kind of start realize, okay, this isn't important anymore, and
it just made me realize, okay, I'm actually all right. Yeah, I'm insecure, but so what? So are loads of people. And to have a creative outlet is more than I could have ever asked for. A lot of people haven't got a creative outlet, and they feel exactly the same way as me, but they haven't got a way of dealing with it. So I'm really grateful that music has allowed me to become the person that I should have been a long time ago. Yeah.
Well, there's a line, and I think it's on Slowly, but where you say, slowly, I'm going to realize who I'm meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that the process, kind of getting...
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's took me a long time, That song is just literally about, on a sort of generalized version of the explanation for the song is literally just about self-acceptance and knowing that your past is a part of who you are, whether you like it or not. and in my case, you know, difficult childhood or whatever. But accepting that where I am now is a good place because of those negative things that happened to me when I was a kid. And it's allowed me to be able to deal with most situations in life. You know, I don't really get nervous with, you know, apart from stuff with my kids, you know, if they get poorly and stuff, like the baby going to hospital, that was difficult. But generally, I don't get fazed by stuff that's heavy going. You
It
know?
kind of made you stronger going
Yeah,
through.
yeah, it has. Yeah, it's really made me see that I'm quite resilient, and you know, I can do more than I thought I could.
And then, well, you mentioned it a little bit, and we don't have to go into it, but your daughter was
Yeah,
born way too early, I
yeah,
believe.
she was. Yeah, she was born at 24 weeks. So yeah, it was a stressful time. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know whether she was going to live, or you know, whether she was going to have a disability, or yeah. So it literally, yeah, put my life on hold in a big way.
Right.
But yeah, I've come through it, and it's amazing. It's amazing that we've both come through it. All of us have come through it, and it's just made me appreciate everything else in life, really. And it's made me relax on the music side of things, and my insecurities have kind of taken a backseat now. Even though they are still there, but they're not taking over like they used to. You know, I can actually enjoy playing music and doing gigs, and talking, doing interviews is getting easier for me because I've accepted myself as who I am, and I find it easy when you're honest. You know, before I was always trying to cover up my insecurity, and that's where I had the trouble with talking, I think. Whereas now I'm just open about it, and then it's easy. You know?
Right. And one thing well, maybe it's not true, but in terms of kind of when you're younger, a lot of those problems are internalized. But now you
Yeah.
have this significant other,
Yeah.
with which to share some of those
Yeah,
burdens.
exactly.
So what
Yeah.
was that like? And then I mean that's where the album title comes from as well. But what
Yeah.
was it like having to going through that, but having somebody there who's on your side, so to say?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the thing. I think that's the first time in my life that I really felt like someone understood was when I met Jill, you know, my other half. But yeah, we've been through it as well. There hasn't been plain sailing for me and Jill. You know, we've split up nearly a few times. We've split up a few times, and in the past few years, it's been really difficult. But we've come through it together, and she's been with me from the start. So I know she's in it for the right reasons.
Sure.